Blessed Ash Wednesday to everybody. We want to have a different conversation now. So, page 13 of the Standard today is a full page advertisement by the Public Service Commission. Shortlisted candidates for the position of Chief Administrative Secretary in the Public Service. This and others are what we'll be discussing. The appointments that have been made so far to various government positions by President William Ruto and his ministers, are they getting them right? Are they inspiring confidence? To help us with that conversation is the Senator for Nandi County, Samson Cherargei. He is here already in the studio. To welcome him, CT has the day's proverb.
I do. Yes, the whole of this week, our proverb is from the country of Tanzania. Ahangaikae sana najua, ajua.
Ahangaikae sana najua, ajua.
Waweza hata ukasema ahangaikae sana kwa jua, ajua.
Ama hata unaweza sema ahangaikae sana najua, anajua.
Yes. Yeye ambaye anafanya kazi
anajua.
Senator, good morning.
Morning, sir.
Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation, the hot seat of the Situation Room.
Thank you.
Good to have you back.
Yeah, at least Happy New Year. I think I was here last year.
It was last year?
Yes,
yeah, issues of maize.
Oh, it was December.
Yeah, it was November.
It was November,
and
actually.
you told us in March, folks there will be some harvest.
Yes.
You told us your people were harvesting from December. They'd be dry by now. We'd be having
they have already sold over the Christmas season. I think the last was in January. So we have planned and waiting for rainy season, which should start at 15 March. And I think I can see the subsidized fertilizer already in Mashinani.
Okay.
So we hope for the best in this new planting season.
From your constituents in Nandi,
yes,
what are they saying about the rollout? Nandi County.
Yes.
What are they saying about the rollout of the subsidized fertilizer?
No, so far, you know what happened is that the national government was supposed to provide the fertilizer. Now the county governments are supposed to ensure it is nearer to the people. For example, in the fertilizer was taken to my hometown called Mosoriat, but the people as far as from Aldai towards Serem, near the border of Kisumu and Nandi and Hamisi, it doesn't make sense. It is not cost effective. So the counties were now to bring around Kobuchoi. The rest they should take to a place called Kabiet or Celia, and then the rest they should get to a place called Lesos and maybe Maraba in Tidri, so that it makes sense to cut down the cost, because it doesn't make sense to tell a farmer all the way from Serem to come to near Eldoret Mosoriat to come and get one bag of DAP fertilizer. So the role of ensuring logistical support was squarely domiciled on county governments. Yeah. So, but so far they are not doing as good as we should expect.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we expect rains in a couple of days' time.
Yeah. And Nandi around should be 15 March. We have seen the signs.
Many farmers haven't received the fertilizer yet. So what are you as leaders doing?
That is what, this was a partnership. Agriculture is devolved as per fourth schedule of the Constitution. So these are some of the issues that the county government are letting us down. And sometimes some people don't see the need and essence of county government sometimes because of its inefficiency. Because the fertilizer arrived in time, they have been in depots, especially in the regions that should be. So what the national government, and I think they did a meeting to try and ensure they take to a particular near place to the farmer so that it becomes more accessible. So now that was the agreement with Council of Governors and the counties. I've seen Wazingishu County is doing fairly well. Elgeyo Marakwet, Nandi, they are still trying to get their feet of ensuring that at least those fertilizer get nearer to where farmers are. So I think it is still a big challenge.
But to be fair to the counties as well, Mheshimiwa.
Yes.
Were the counties involved in this whole process? Look, the national government went to the farm to register farmers.
Correct.
All right? Using the chief. The national government is a custodian of the data of farmers. It's the one that has the information about how much fertilizer each farmer is getting.
Correct.
It's the one that is sending out information to the farmer.
Correct.
Come and collect fertilizer.
Yes.
It's the one that is coordinating the importation or the acquisition of the fertilizer.
Correct.
At subsidized rates.
Correct.
And sending it to the national NCPB depots. At
Absolutely.
what point were governors involved in the conversation of bringing it closer to the people?
You know, when you look at the Constitution envisages mutual and distinct. And there is intergovernmental relations that exist in some of these shared responsibilities. You remember the role of policy remains with the national government, in as much as the national government had capacity to acquire those fertilizers. Because if you are to tell Nandi to go and buy and import, and they don't have that money and they don't have that capacity. So the only role they could play is ensuring that that fertilizer is accessible within the reach of farmers. And I think it was, that's like the medical equipment supplies, the leasing equipment story, although that's a story that was an outright rip-off of counties. But the essence, it was done in good faith by saying, okay, where the NCPB has bought this fertilizer, they know, and that is why, for example, when they were taking to Kobucha depot, the amount of fertilizer that is taken to Kobucha depot, I'm saying that because it's nearer to city Muga, is that place, they know the number of fertilizer bags that were taken is commensurate to the number of farmers within that region. So that is, and in fact, the challenge that had come before was that the government has given 7 days, but after engaging them, they have agreed to give 30 days because they would tell you a 7-day notice, and most parents, which are farmers, were sending their Form 1 to school, and therefore it was a challenge because 7 days would expire without you getting that fertilizer. But now at least that accessibility should be for the counties, because even if agriculture is fully devolved, so even if you wanted NCPB, for example, in Nandi we have around 3 NCPB boards, one in Celia in Masab sub-county, one in Mosoria Chesume sub-county, and one in Lesos in Nandi Hills sub-county or Nandi Hills constituency. So the rest of the other part of Nandi don't have depots. So you can now use other, after we passed the warehouse receipting issue of the Warehouse Receipting Systems Act that we passed in the last parliament, it was somehow to ensure that accessibility and even give farmers opportunity to even store their produce within those. And fortunately, some of these places, they have depots that they store coffee or tea or other. So that partnership should have been brought to ensure. I know there could be an issue of why did counties be the ones buying. Those are issues of capacity, issues of having the cash and what have you,
I'm
and that
on
logistics. Yes,
I'm on the point of this distribution. It sounds to me, and I posit, Mheshimiwa, that the national government has taken full control and is not ceding control of this process to the counties at any stage.
But what they are ceding is to counties to provide transport. Not to blame. Because yesterday, what happens is that the national government will bring up to the point where the counties are prepared farmers to pick from. So I agree that the national government has control from the point of buying it, shipping in, transporting it. But now the system they need is now at the level of farmers where they are getting the fertilizer. I know Kenya National Trading Corporation, which is the entity that should import, is another story altogether. I don't want to go that route. So the point I'm just trying to make is, what is important is if City Muga is living somewhere in Awasi and there is a depot in Awasi, what the county government now should tell the National Zero Produce Board in Kisumu is to bring to a depot they own in Awasi. Then farmers from Awasi and Chemelil area will now go and pick that fertilizer.
Yeah, we have a depot in Muhoroni.
Yeah, of course, in Muhoroni. So it becomes, yes.
Only problem is Governor Anyang' Nyong'o does not know how many farmers are in Muhoroni, because Governor Anyang' Nyong'o did not participate in registering those farmers.
But the
now, guy who did it is Medeka Linturi here.
But now what is important is, in my own opinion, is these are intergovernmental relations issues that we should be sorted. So we don't, as a Senate, we don't sit in COG or IGTRC, and therefore it is hard from where I sit or where I stand to be able to have how the county should operate. Those are some of the issues the governor should raise.
Actually, Mheshimiwa, you are in the right position and you are very firmly placed to do the very thing you're saying you can't do. Because
yes.
What is oversight about if not just that?
No, let me come to that. Oversight is like a mortician.
When the thing is already dead.
Yes. Because now, the only question I can ask is, if I seek a statement today in the Senate before the Committee on Agriculture, I will say a statement how the procurement was done through KTC, the company that shipped, how many farmers, how many did it get. So it is post-mortem.
Yes, it is. And it's a very important process because it also tells you the gaps. When you talk access and you're saying it's at the depot, okay?
Yes.
And the person who's supposed to receive it hasn't received it. Where is the access?
But now, even in Matthew Amaya, is a Speaker Amaya case, Speaker Mate, the Embu, the famous, after 2013, the court say you can only challenge a process at the tail end. You don't challenge a mystery. So if today I was to ask how many farmers have received in Nandi, I will get a half answer because the process is not yet over.
Okay. I was going somewhere with what I'm saying.
Yes.
Because I've witnessed this with sugarcane farming.
Yes.
And the fertilizers that were used in sugarcane farming.
Yes.
I used to be shocked every time I went to visit my grandmother as a child to find that she had a storage facility where you'd find bags of fertilizer. They had been delivered to her.
Yes.
And of course, you inquire.
So, what I want to agree with you, City, is you are right. I wish also we can use the system of how farmers get their yes. Because sometimes even I drive when I'm in Altai or any other region like Nandi on a Sunday, a lorry will come from KVDA, come, and then farmers will just pick. So I think what we should be saying is borrow best practices.
Yes.
Especially tea. The tea farmers, by the eyes a system, or now they get their fertilizer, and I think that's a brilliant system. And that's some of the issues when governors, because our Senate, the Ministry of Agriculture has never called us when they are meeting governors, so that when they are discussing these issues, we can now, oversight, by the way, can be proactive or reactive. So at that point now, we can tell them, why don't you use the system of sugarcane farmers or system of tea? Because wherever you go, even the region you come from is largely tea. And when you go there, your grandmother or your grandfather will always have their bags ready. They don't even need to call anybody.
No,
by the way, they need to be ile kibanda.
Yes.
Ya chai, where they wanaambiwa on Sunday morning, saa ine, all farmers are meeting. You pick the number of bags. And I agree, that's a brilliant idea. We'll share with the highest powers be to see how it can work.
Oversight is not only at the end.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And that's why, for example, it said that at certain stages, the executive will come and seek authority of the assembly.
Correct.
To start something. That is oversight.
Correct.
Or the assembly can at any point ask questions. That is oversight.
And I agree with you, because oversight also is where you notice gaps and come and bring policy and legislative intervention.
Exactly.
So, for example, we have realized that I sit in Public Accounts Committee. We have realized that county assemblies do not have financial autonomy. The money that is received from National Treasury goes to TCM Finance. Then the CCM Finance, the clerk of the county assembly, make requisition. When now I saw a story of quail birds in Kisumu County, where they were trying to use drones to fight the birds. So if MCAs from Kisumu want to oversight the governor, and the governor is uncomfortable, what he will do, he will tell CCM Finance, don't release money to MCAs. And he will go and tell Wananchi, do you need me to buy medicine or niwape pesa MCAs? And they don't tell that it is budgeted money that has been approved by the controller of budget.
Okay, Mheshimiwa, you're here, so we talk about appointments.
Okay.
You have seen several appointments in government so far.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
You sit in that oversight assembly called the Senate,
Yes.
but also you are a member elected under UDA, which is Kenya Kwanza, which is controlling the executive. Now, today, the Public Service Commission, after the challenge was lifted by the Employment and Labor Relations Court, has published names of shortlisted candidates to the position of Chief Administrative Secretary.
Yeah.
We know the journey to this.
Of course.
After in the previous administration, when Uhuru appointed this and Okiya Mtata, now senator, went to court, and the court said, yes, Uhuru actually there, you didn't do the right thing.
Yes.
This time, president writes to the PSC and says, I need officers to do this and the other, to run around, walk into parliament, come back, answer questions, this and that, and assist the minister, this and the other. So the PSC asked us for opinions. We said a categorical no, but they ignored. But let's assume that more people said yes than those of us who said no. They advertised for this position. Now they have shortlisted candidates. One thing from the onset, this is a second list being published by the Public Service Commission.
Correct.
First list, this one has 240
Yes.
members. First list, published the other day, the day before yesterday, had 224 members.
224 members.
Yes.
224 shortlisted candidates. Now they have 240 shortlisted candidates.
The
Okay.
shortlist has become longer.
The
The
shortlist is
studies have
becoming
become
longer.
longer.
We saw the same thing happening with the position
PS.
of PSS.
PSS.
Several other additions after the first.
Shortlist.
So they put
Shortlist.
another addendum.
Imagine.
Yeah.
Now the question is, what does this tell us? Is it pointed to anything? The names that have been added, why were they not shortlisted previously? And this whole exercise,
Yes.
is it an exercise in futility to actually call 240 people before an interviewing panel? Does the president already not know who he'd like to appoint as CS?
As you have said, that this journey has started from far. And in fact, LSK went to court. This matter, by the way, was in the previous government. It became a legal issue. And I remember several orders were issued by court. And I think the president decided how they do things, and therefore he decided to allow the court process to be finished. Number two is that, when you win an election, you have many supporters and campaigners and loyalists. It is a tradition all over the world that you must reward your loyalists. And betrayal is an expensive currency in politics. And therefore, you don't want to risk to go that route. And therefore, I think that is the whole point. So the reason president has, the PSC has shortlisted these people is because it is just a process that the courts have said you cannot handpick. These are people who use taxpayers' money. These are offices that will be maintained by taxpayers' money. So I don't see there is any problem. The PSC might be having challenges in terms of capacity, because when they are shortlisting, I don't know why they decided to shortlist a certain number and then come and increase. Maybe they are consulting with different quarters. Okay. But what many people say, that there are a number of politicians who are
In the shortlist.
on shortlist.
It's not what people say, Senator. It's what is actually there.
Okay, let's put it this way. It is a fact that most politicians are in that list. And these politicians supported the president. Politicians are also professionals. Even me, I'm a professional. The fact that I'm a politician, and it doesn't mean that I don't have a capacity to be a good farmer simply because I'm a politician. If I did farming, for example, but only I was surprised is to see former governors being shortlisted. I don't know, because after staying 10 years as a governor. But by the way, my own opinion, and I've had a discussion with the president, is that at least young people should be given such opportunity so that they are under tutelage. Say that, these are CSS positions that they can learn under the ministry, the minister, or the cabinet secretary, and PSS. So it should be a tutelage way of inducting young people into coming into serious management of country affairs, especially on the executive wing. Because parliament, we are doing very well. At least a number of, from both Azimio and Kenya Alliance and Kenya Kwanza, a number of us are fairly youthful people. So you can say parliament is at least doing very well. And like exactly, because I remember many people were saying when they were getting cabinet secretaries, many people were saying, where are the young people? Where are the hustlers? Where is so and so? But many people don't know these hustlers areas, you need people who can manage them to ensure that they get the promises that we make. Because when you say, for example, appoint border guy to be a CS, the issue is about the capacity and the competence. You need somebody who can sit in that office and ensure the policies and interventions they put in place will be favorable to that hustler who is a mamamboga or a border somewhere in Papa Odit, somewhere in Kisumu, so that in Kisumu County, so that it becomes easy. So at the end of the day, I think what the president is doing, the final point I wanted to make is, even me as a senator, I would always want to get people who believe in my vision. And that is why you cannot just get somebody who was sabotaging the other. For example, in this government, there are still many remnants of Azimio One Kenya Alliance, and we know them even in senior government position, and they should be shown the door.
Hey.
There is no option.
People in public service.
Yeah, in public service, because
you're saying as high as CS position.
No, not as high as CS position. As high, we have cleaned that one and the PSS, but as high as senior positions within public service. And these are people that were known that they did not respect the president when he was the deputy. They campaigned for the other candidate, and it's nothing wrong. It is their right by the under Article 38 to a political right to vote whoever you wish. It is a political, but it means how can you serve under me when you didn't believe in my vision? And that is why you will see sabotage here and there. And my opinion, and I've said this not because I'm an activist, but to be honest, is that get the people who believe in your vision. Let the remnants of Azimio One Kenya Alliance who are within the system be cleaned, so that when the president delivers, he delivers on a clean slate where people believe in it. And there's no two way about, even if, which was unlikely, even if Azimio had won, they would be cleaning up the system to get any remnants of people who are purported or thought to be the friends of William. And this is the tradition. I don't believe even in Joe Biden administration in the US. They are remnants of Donald Trump. In fact, he's going after them. So, in fact, what we are just doing is that we are just saying, let the president get the people who believe in his vision, who stood with him, who campaigned for him, who are his loyalists, who believe in the vision. That is the way his agenda can move forward.
Where do you stand, Senator, on competency-based appointments vis-a-vis loyalist-based appointments? Where do you stand on that? What do you think ought to be done?
You can be a competent and loyal.
You can also be incompetent and loyal. So that's what I'm asking.
I agree if at some point or at some stage, some of the loyalists that will be hired incompetent, they should be shown the door. But somebody can be competent and loyal.
True.
So what we are having in office is that, and there is no two way about it. Let us have people who are loyal, competent, and I think, Latif, as we have seen, I don't think the PSC would shortlist people who do not meet the minimum requirements.
Sorry?
It is. I don't think PSC would shortlist.
You don't think?
I don't think that PSC, as per the law, because they are provided under the Constitution,
can be challenged.
Yeah, even if you are hiring somebody in SpiceFM and you sit as selection panel, there are minimum requirements that you will need. So I think these people have met the minimum requirements. It is upon the appointing authority to decide who he wants to serve within the cabinet of the president.
Okay, let's take a break. Nandi Senator Samson Cherargei is our guest this morning. We're talking about the appointments that have been made so far and continue to be made into the William Ruto administration in Kenya Kwanza.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice.
With Nandi Senator Samson Cherargei about the appointments to government. Senator.
Yes.
Looking at those that have been appointed to positions so far, you've said something that when you're talking about, the importance of the president playing the political game. He made a promise to several people and to several regions and to several interest groups.
Correct.
That you'll be incorporated into my administration.
Correct.
So some of the appointments then that we are seeing are in fulfillment of a promise. Right?
Yes.
Now, how does that impact his own desire to actually see the right person occupying the right office? Like now, all these people, 240 who have been shortlisted for the position of CAS, let's say he puts a CAS in each state department. So we're going to have 49 CASs.
Correct.
Are they all going to be, because he's trying to balance this politics with an eye ahead, an eye looking back at the promises he made last year, an eye looking at accountability come 5 years down the road to the political people and also to the people of Kenya did you deliver?
No, Latif, what I think the president is trying to do and where he sits from, he wants to get his team that he believes the promises and the pledges I make to Kenyans. This is the team that he believes in. For us who love football, and I'm an Arsenal fan, is you put a team. That's why a coach will come and try and put a team in place that he believes that team can play very well and be competitive and win the trophy. So I think as Kenyans, we should also give time president to craft his own team, so that when he's implementing his manifesto and pledges, he's comfortable with. Number two, the people you are talking about is that, there is a perception. And I don't want to say media. Everybody.
If you think if it's media,
there's a public perception.
There is a public perception. And I think it is all of us. I don't want to say media because there is also social media space that is run by individuals that they are trying to paint that the appointments that are made by president come from two regions or come from the people that call company and shareholders. The point is that many people, whenever Kip or Mwangi or somebody are appointed, you see social media and even mainstream media come out and say, they are appointing from only two tribes. But when appointment, there is a last week that appointment was made of Kemri chairperson, Senator Ali Abdullahi. We served together. He was from Wajir. No one wrote in social media, no one. But when it comes to anybody else, they will write. Now, there was a former governor of Kisumu, Ranguma, Jack Ranguma. There is, I think, Eddie Anyanga or Ayaka of Migori, a former member of parliament somewhere there. You will never hear anybody talk about. But the moment he appoints either from Mount Kenya region or Rift Valley, you will see everybody on social media. I think that is the perception that we need to believe also, that even the way, we need to be honest with ourselves. Not because that they voted for Kenya Kwanza, but you need to look at the population of the country. If you were to use even pro rata or rationalization, of course, definitely there will be some imbalancing. It is the nature.
Mheshimiwa,
yes.
What is wrong with appointing your own people?
There is nothing wrong.
Yes. So why the lengthy explanation and excuse? If you feel you want to appoint people who come from where you come from, what is wrong with it?
It's a number on the percentage.
That's why I was telling you, the Constitution gets in the way of these things. Because the Constitution is going to talk to you about gender balance,
regional
balance, yes.
And what have you, okay?
Yes.
So, the conversation often is not about who is appointed and how they are appointed.
Yeah.
No. It's a conversation about it. If you listen to the talk, now the Deputy President has been there in the media in the past days, what he said about the issue of the company.
Yes.
When you listen to the conversation about appointments, it sounds like it's a revenge mission. These people did this, we are now doing this. These people did this, we are now doing this. And this is our position. And yet, the changes that you're talking about and these appointments, every president, every administration has done what they thought was good for them, without exception.
But across the world.
I'm talking about this country.
Yes.
It's done all the time. So, people favoring their relatives, their cousins, at every level, you see it with the governors, you see it with MPs when they choose the people who manage the constitution development funds, etc., etc., etc. However, when the conversation around it, and it's by you, esteemed Waheshimiwa, when you're justifying it, and you do very well until you mention the other people who did this. Then people wonder, okay, so what exactly are you doing and what is the motivation behind it? The optics around it are not the deed, but how you represent what you are doing. So the fodder that we, the media, pick up on is that, and we amplify it.
Agreed, because what I think is that the fact that the Constitution provides that when you are appointing, you must consider region, religion, ethnicity, or where they come from, comes in as a checks and balances, especially when you are hiring or you are getting, and that is why the question of competency and meritocracy might sometimes come in place. Because, by the way, you can, and I've seen even with TAC, where in northern Kenya, they had at time, I think Amina Mohammed, the former CS, tried to lower entry grade to bring affirmative.
Yep.
So sometimes the issue of meritocracy and competency takes a backseat to try and satisfy the Constitution. Because you can have people from maybe from anywhere, even from here in Nairobi, 10 of them are qualified. But because the Constitution says you must have a regional balance, you are forced to go to Turkana or Northern Kenya. I'm not saying they don't have qualified people, but trying to be affirmative, yes, as many as it should be. So you are forced to satisfy the Constitution. You must bend backwards and ensure that you lower in affirmative manner as the Constitution. But I agree with you, as a person, you must, as a president, even governors. And this is an issue because I see it also, one of the audit query in most of the counties is the issue of wage bill.
Yep.
What happens? Every governor, when they are elected, they come with their people. And most of that people are maybe their campaigners, their relatives, as you have said, their cousins, who they believe that it will assist them to be safe in courts and to be able to deliver on what they believe that they had promised the people. So I think when the president is doing that, and the president, by the way, is very keen. I can confirm because we have sat one-on-one. He is keen in having the face of Kenya on several occasions. And we have occasions where he has insisted that on this position, this I don't want to say this tribe or that tribe, but this region, yeah, this region, yeah, must get this because he's very keen on the national unity and the face of Kenya, as many people don't know. So at the end of the day, even in Parliament, when committees were being formed, the chairpersons, the House leadership, the president was very keen to ensure each and every region. For the first time, for example, Costa has never had a speaker. The Speaker of the Senate comes from Coastal. Coastal has never had a senior position in House leadership. The Deputy Majority Leadership in the National Assembly, majority side, I'm not talking about minority because Stewart has been there. In the National Assembly, Owen Back, Cliff North Member of Parliament, is Deputy Majority Leader. Even in Kisii, where many people would have expected, if you look the balancing that was done in leadership of both houses, Senate and the National Assembly, you can see even the chairpersons, because they sit in last one committee and is recognized by the Constitution, is that he tried to spread out as a party leader. Unlike our brother, where he has been accused on several occasions, because I was there when the Speaker of National Assembly was saying it's going to be noisy, messy, and there when he was the minority leader, and Senator James Orengo, then the current governor of Siaya. So I think it takes a deliberate effort of looking at
but
beyond.
There's also looking at the choice meat. Okay,
Yes.
so look, if you look at cabinet,
Yes.
and you see that, like Raila was reminding us yesterday, 13 are from these two regions.
Yes.
If you look at the principal secretaries and you see they're from these two regions, so even if you have these smatterings of which board,
This one, this.
Lake Victoria's, the board,
Jiga Campaign Commission.
So the figureheads, he was talking about the figureheads.
the thing, if the sirloin and the T-bone and the other steaks are all going to this, and then nakula shingo.
But you know, and everybody knows in this room, because all of us are learned, is that, by the way, being a cabinet secretary is no much to it. You are just the head of organization.
Yeah, but
the person with the spending and authority, by the way, which was told, is the PS. The person who even Kera DG can do much more even than the PS.
Which is why you look at the PSs, and now you can see the community.
The spending authority and authorization. The spending authority and authorization is done by the PS.
That's true.
And even the heads like DGs and these boards. One quick thing I correct, because I saw Tinga speaking in Kisii. He was talking about those issue of PSs. But what he was not telling the crowd, that the CS of education comes from Kisii. So, as an opposition, you will always lie strategically to advance your agenda.
Yeah, but the
because
PS
you
who
go
has
and
the power of the pen to
no, but
expand
CS,
money in
who
the
doesn't
basic
want a CS?
the
It's
basic
the same
education,
people that they
the
will
PS comes
complain
from-
that our mawaziri wote walipea upande moja, hata wangetupea moja. So which is better? Now, if you give them a DG or you give them a PS or a CS, someone will say, no, you should have given us a PS instead of a DG.
You know, what you're saying is actually very true. But you're a politician.
But that is why...
Power,
yes.
You can be the permanent secretary.
Yes, and powerful.
And you can be the permanent secretary and you are not as powerful despite the power that the constitution
But there was
and the
a
law
PS
gives
in
you.
this country that was powerful.
My friend, we've had people who are even lower than the PS
Correct, yeah,
who
yeah,
are
agreed.
really powerful. So essentially, at some level, the power is in the person, not really the office or the position.
Yes.
So what I'm saying is, it is important, yes, to have this discussion, but there's one discussion around what we are saying here that we never have enough of, and that is the matter pertaining to the equalization fund. Because
Article 204.
I am not certain whether it's 204 or 215. The point I'm making is the people who can make it a reality are you, Waishimiwa.
Yes.
Why has it not made a reality? Because the discussions will go up and down and this way and that way. But you know what we're saying?
The bottom line
Who
is-
do we have in place who will ensure that the Mwananchi gets the service that they're supposed to get? Now, we have a facility that was set in place specifically to cater for marginalized communities. It was set up, people who needed that extra boost. Now, what does it say of us when after all this time we actually haven't been able to actualize it? And yet we keep talking about this ought to be done, this needs to be done, this needs to be done. And yet there is a facility that should, it's there, it exists.
Agreed. What I can say at this point, and I take you seriously, seeing the notes that you are writing.
Yes, there are four books.
4 books. Oh, he's carrying 2 today, so it's
Therefore,
six.
1, 2, 3, 4. And then I have 2 phones.
Okay. So I take it seriously what he's saying. Equalization fund, I don't know whether your parliamentary report has brought you up to speed. We really tried and even passed. But the biggest problem came about, Latif, is when members of parliament in Nairobi, for example, indicated that they have hardship areas.
Yes.
And they do.
They do, yes. But the intention of the constitution was looking at areas like Turkana and Northern Frontier.
Yeah.
But when you do poverty index, when poverty index came back in when Kenya National Bureau of Statistics did it last year, the most of the poverty is found in Migori, for example, which is as opposite to the expectation, because people ordinarily thought Turkana or even Lamu, and that is when I was at the center of the conversation of 1 man, 1 vote, 1 shilling. If you remember the division of revenue that we had, and Senate could not agree for 3 months. The concern was the issue of poverty index, service delivery, equalization fund. But let me confirm, and the Ministry of Treasury can deny this. As Parliament, we have played our role. We allocated the money. So it is the Ministry of Treasury, and when you get them, when they come to this show, ask them why have they not released those funds? Because we have done our part. You can check even the answer before the last session of Parliament. And I remember even in my county, I got a number of locations because they use locations to allocate.
Have you really done your bit?
We have done our bit.
Aha. I have seen occasions in this country when Parliament wants something done, Treasury also wants something done, without which they cannot do. You know where I'm going with this one, don't you?
Yes, I know.
Yeah, until Parliament says okay. And Parliament has said we are not saying okay until this happens. So,
no, are you talking about CDF or?
I am talking about everything, including CDF.
Your leverage.
And I'm saying you have leverage and you haven't used it in this instance.
We I think, by the way, Article 219, is it 219 or 218 of the Constitution of Kenya, talks that when money is appropriated, it should be released with undue delay. We have had run-ins with the Ministry of Treasury when they delay disbursement to counties. And that is why, as we talk, the building of pending bills in counties continues to be very hard.
Right.
But but also, you saw MPs in Mombasa, National Assembly. To them, there is a way this constitution was wired. When they intimidate treasury and blackmail, the treasury listens to them.
That's not
But because they have,
It's called leverage.
let me use the word leverage. You know, National Assembly has more leverage than Senate. You know why? Because the power of impeaching a cabinet secretary and the power of passing the budget. It is Supreme Court that salvaged the Senate when they say the budget mocking process and budget policy statements must also involve Senate. And that is why, and then the argument of money bills has become on the way of the Senate. That's why we don't have leverage as much as National Assembly. That's why when National Assembly says today, if you do not release CDF, NGCDF, we are not going to do anything. And the Treasury will listen to it.
I would urge you not to excuse the lazy approach that the Senate has to these matters. Lazy in this sense.
Yes.
If you could go to court and argue your case and the court could see your point of view, why is it that the Senate always talks about them being helpless and toothless? You are the Senate, for heaven's sake. Why don't you look for ways of actually ensuring that you are as powerful as you can be and as powerful as you ought to be? Why do you sit back and take the second position and then whine about it?
No, we are not whining about, but the way this constitution was drafted, it was drafted in such a way, I don't know the intention, because the drafters of the constitution have looked at the history of how it was drafted. The intention, they didn't want to have a Senate that was powerful. Because when you go somewhere, Eric and my sister here, is that the Senate has the veto power in serious jurisdictions like the US. So in fact, if we were given the veto power, side that the National Assembly... Of course,
who is going to give it to you?
The president has made suggestions to parliament that we need to amend the constitution. And then I think when we will amend the constitution, we'll be able to look at such of the issues. Because, for example, I remember, and I was the chair of JLAC.
Who has the power of kick-starting the process of amending the constitution?
The parliamentary initiative can work. But we are looking at it. I hope you have been following the debate. You know, when I sat as the chair of JLAC, and by the human rights issues, extrajudicial killings, I did a report and even grabbing of prisons land in this country. I remember when you used to summon a cabinet secretary, you invite, because that's the constitution, either committee of parliament can invite or summon a cabinet secretary. Most of them would prefer to go to National Assembly as to come to Senate. We have never known the reason as to why. So that is why now, after 10 years, we need to relook how this parliamentary, the parliamentary, is it bicameral parliament operates, so that it becomes easy in terms of running of our affairs. But I want to tell you, Senate is doing a lot.
Yes, they are.
We are doing a lot. And then another problem we are facing is on the issue of money bill. When we want to legislate, the National Assembly would take that legislation, go and subject to their parliamentary budget office, and then they say this money bill, the Senate does not have power. What do? They reproduce our bill and publish. And that is why when I was the chair, by the way, there were 24 legislations. We did our bleedings, moved to the Milimani Law Courts under Justice Weldon Corrinden. We were given orders that, National Assembly was so mischievous in the last parliament that they could pass even amendment of KEMSA Act or Health Act, which directly is devolved and then sneak it to the president to assent. But those are supremacy battles that we hope, and I agree, because we cannot operate as Senate without National Assembly. We must work together as conjoined twins so that we can achieve for Kenyans.
Fortunately for you, now the Speaker of the National Assembly is a former two-term senator.
Correct.
He understands the plight.
Of course.
So lobby the Speaker. You have a direct way.
No, we have a direct way, but also you never know.
No, we know.
But by the way, I was suggesting finally on that thought, so that it ends neatly and Kenyans can at least follow, is that we thought and that was my thinking then when I was the chair of JLAC, we thought that before the president assents
to
a bill,
any bill,
there must be a concurrent certificate signed by both speakers.
Board, yes.
So they tell the president, this is the certificate and this is the bill you need to sign. If he sees the signatures of both speakers, then he says this bill has been concurrently accepted and now they are sent to it.
Makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense. Senator, thank you very much.
Oh, time is up.
Imagine.
I thought we have 2 minutes. Or that one is for paying the bills. So it's an honor to be here and to pass my greetings to the people of Nandi.
Yes. One of them passes greetings back. Denzel Kogo says, say hello to my senator.
Okay, I am passing greetings. Unajua huko my neighbors, you must pass greetings when you are in student. And wish them well. I want to appeal to Kenyans even as we proceed with everything, and I can see our brothers are having prayers. Let's keep praying for this country, but not only praying, but keep working to transform this country.
All right.
Yeah. I'm happy everybody is now praying, including Raila.
Come again soon. Senator Samson Cherargei, Senator for Nandi County.